Hello and welcome. So in this video, we are going to create the calendar component using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So let me create the files that I'll need. I'll need the HTML file, that's the index.html, and I'll need the styles file to style our project, style.css, then the script.js for our JavaScript. So in the index.html file, I'll need maybe the boilerplate first. Just change the title to calendar, and then I'll need to link my CSS file. So I'm using Emmet for faster writing HTML faster, and then I'll also add my JavaScript file here. I'll start my live server and put my browser side by side here so that I get to see the changes. So currently it's empty, as you can see here, and let's think of the parts that we shall need. So inside here, I think I'll need a date picker, something to show the current date. So if I create a div there, I give it a paragraph, and maybe this is the date picked. That's in case someone picks a date on our calendar, what date do we want to show him? So that's the date picked, and I think I would have it there. So I can give this a class of date picked, and then the actual date, I'll give it an ID of date. Let me go with picked. So I would have text over here that will show the date that I've currently picked out. So that will be enough, and then I would have a main element here. Add a div here with the date picked. I'm creating a main element. I think this is big enough. So in the main, I would want to have maybe a calendar header. Let me give this an ID. The calendar header, and in the calendar header I would like to have maybe a button before that to take me to the previous month, the heading, and then the button after. That's what I think should be in a calendar component, at least. So I would have a button, so a button that takes me to the previous month, and another button that would take me to the next. Then in between there I would have the heading, that's the current month. So go with an H3. Currently we are in July, so the July of 2022. This is something that will be changing. I think that's this is good for our calendar head, and that's exactly what we shall go with. And then the actual days. So I would have a table for the actual calendar, and then in the table I would have the table head. In the table head, I would specify the days of the week. These I don't have to find them in the JavaScript. So table head 1, I would have the Monday, and then I would have the Tuesday. Probably I should start with Sunday because Sunday is 0, and I've been mapping through these days. So I should start with Sunday. Sunday is somehow considered the first day of the week by the JavaScript object by having it as 0. So Sunday, Monday, and that's it. So I've mapped out the days of the week. That's from Sunday to Saturday, and that's fine for now. Okay, then I would also need somewhere to display the actual dates. So in the table body, that's where I would have the actual dates, but those would be generated in the JavaScript. So I'll just give it a class, an ID of calendar. And what else do we need for the JavaScript? That's it with the HTML. Let's work on the JavaScript of this page and get the days populated here. Probably from to add one thing, I would want to change the state from JavaScript also, so I'd give it an ID and maybe go with month, an ID of month. So I already called my script JavaScript file here, so let's move to that. So I'm in the script.js file, and first I close the HTML file. First, I would like to call all the HTML elements that I would want to change from the JavaScript file. So I think this picked date would also be, as someone picks a date, we show them some date. Let me put something here. So for today, today is the 2nd of July 2022. So when someone picks another date, we would want it to change. So here, let me add that to the JavaScript. So the picked date is equal to, and access the DOM object, document.getElement by ID. It's here. And then my ID was picked. Okay. And then I would also want to change the month. Let me also pick that out. That's a month. So the document.getElement by ID, and that's a month. Okay. And then which other would I want? So we have the table. The days would be pretty much that, and then the actual calendar that you're working on. So calendar is equal to document get element by ID, and that's the calendar. Okay, I think that's all we shall need from the HTML file. Let me go to the Zen mode here. So I've picked out all the components that I'd want, and maybe to try out stuff, let me get the console over here to see that my JavaScript file is actually connected to the HTML. I'll log something here. So you can see it being logged in the console. That means the files are connected. To create this calendar component, we are working with mostly with the JavaScript object, the data object, and where we have to access it. So to do that, let me create a date here. That's constant date, and make it an object, a date. That's from new date. So if I console.log that date, it actually provides the object of today's date. Okay, this provides the date. That's today is Saturday, July 2nd. Okay, so to get the month, that's constant this month, that will equal to the date dot get month, and then the year, that's equal to the date dot get full year. So these are the get methods from the date object. That's, we have the get and set. That's, but for today we shall not use the get because we are trying to get the dates, the year, and display it on our calendar. So we have a get month and get full year, and I think those are the ones we shall be using. To get the month, we get July, because this provides us with the month as 0 up to 11. So to get the actual month, we have to map it to our own array. So I'll create an array of months, and the first month I think is January. Okay, no, it's January. We have February, February. There's a March. Let me write this out and we'll continue after. Okay, I can't believe it took me this long to write the dates of the months of the year, but they are the year and they are 12. So let me save this. Pretty others this for me whenever I save it's a code formatter. So I've listed the months that we shall need. That's from January to December. And I think at least for the picked date, we can actually assign this. So initially I would want, we have picked, initially I'd want that the picked date to be the current date today. So in the HTML, that should equal to the date, which I can get from the string templating over here. So I don't need this. That's from date dot get date. That will give me the 2nd, and then I would also need the month of the year. That's this month, and then the year. which we already got also in the year. So that will give me 2nd 6 and 2022, and actually it's July is 7th, so we shall have to add the 1 on this just because it's somehow starting from 0. It's taking January as the first month and it's 0, so we shall have to have 1, add 1 to it. I think you know what I mean, to make sure that January is counted as the first month and it's given 1. So let's create actually a function that we shall run to create our calendar component. In this function, that's where we shall change the header to show the month and the year, and then the different dates that are generated. So what I'm going to let me create the function, and then we talk of the other parts. So I'll have my function here. I'll create calendar. And the first thing that I would like to always keep changing in this function is the month. That's in case someone moves a bit further. So the month that in the HTML, I'd like it to keep changing. Okay, not to keep, but change whenever it's needed to. So instead of having January put in the HTML there, we shall change it from the JavaScript. And that's this month, and then the year that we are currently in. The year. I think this is it. I don't know why it's not changing. So let me first see. That's the month is equal to, if you check in our HTML, that's the ID of the month. Don't try and need this. Oh, I didn't. So okay, it's changing it, but I didn't call the function out here, so it's not actually running. So if I call the function, we get to see the month, and it's giving me 6 of 2020. But I would want the month to be the actual name. So I'd say months. So that's month, and then get me the month that's at that index of this month. So it will pass in the 6, and this would come here and check 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's July. So provide me with July. For our calendar component, we need to first get the day 1 of the month. Find the day 1 of every month. And then when we get this day 1, we can get the months that are in the year. And if we get, that's like getting the first month, the first day of the month, and then the last day of the month. Then keep looping through the others while adding +1 +1. So what I'm saying, if this is July and I want to know today is 2nd, yesterday was the 1st, I want to know that the first day of the month was a Friday. We don't need the console now. If I know the first month of July was a Friday, and this is our one over here, so I would want to know what the last day of the month would be. So if I'm like July has, let me say 31 days, so I would know that the first month is 1 and it's on Friday, the last month is on Tuesday, and it's 31st. So the rest of the month I would just go on incrementing them by 1. That Saturday would be 2nd, that's 1 plus 1, that's 2, and then Sunday will be 3rd, that's 2 plus 1, until I reach to 31. So to get the actual first day of the month, let's call it a day 1. To get the day 1, I would get the new object, the date object, provide it with my year and month, and then I put the 32, and then get the date. The reason why we add 32 is because we get the 31 that is assumed to be from the other past month, and then add the 1 to make it to the next year, the next month. And then, okay, some months have 31 days. So to get the month of the other day, I add on another one day, that's 32, and that would provide a new month. So that will be new date. That will be new date. I provide it the year, which will be the year that we get from the date itself. and then provided it a month, which will be our this month. So and then provide it also 32 and get the date. So date. So if I log this console.log day one. So from the console, I can see that new date, provide it with a year and then get date. Probably should not say date. Let me want to first get the day before. Oh, to get the first month, I don't need to pass the 31. That's the first month. And to get, so if I say a new date, pass it the year and the month, then get day, I get 5. That shows me that the first year day of this month is a Friday. So okay, so I have the first year day is a Friday, and then the days in a month I would get constant. Let me go with month days is equal to, so I'll get 32 minus the new date on a year, then this month. Oh, and then that's when I'll pass in the 32. So 32 minus due date here, and then get the date. So if I'm to log the month days, I will get 31. That means July has 31 days. So I have the first day. I know the first day is a Friday. And then I know that the month has 31 days. So for the other days, I don't need to know that this is a Tuesday, this is a what. I just keep on looping through it, increasing one on our date. So if I'm to, I don't need to console the log right now. So if I'm to have my date here, I think I've not used it anywhere. Okay. So if I have date and say my date is initially equal to 1, and that date is a Friday. So I want to maybe use a for loop and get the first week. That's a for loop, get the first week, the first date, provide those months, and then another for loop to kind of get the rows and columns of the month going. So let's do that. So for the first week, I would have let is equal to 0. We have 7 days high, that's less than 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So that's for I is equal to 6. I less than 6. That's because I think the most a month can go is 5 weeks. You say month can have 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and so for every month we shall have to create a row for it, and we shall use the create element method from the document. So if I to create a row, that's let row equal to document dot create element, and the element that we shall want to do because we are working with a table, so we shall need a table row for this table row. So that means for the first week I have my table row, second week, third week, and then we shall need to create the rows. That yes, I have the weeks, but I have the days. But first we have to check that our date is not greater than the days in a month. That's the month days. If it is greater than, then just break out of that. And then else, so we'd like to check else if so for January, for July, the first day is on a Friday. So in the first week, what happens that some days are left empty or get days from the previous month. So in this case, we are going to leave them out empty and provide the first day as Friday. So we shall check if we are in the first week of the month. Let's see if I is equal to 0. And then the date that we have right now is less than the first date. Let's see, less than the first date is not actually the first date. So those are the Thursday. If it is Thursday and the first month starts on Friday. So I'll check. So check if the day is less than the day one. Oh, we don't have a loop going in for the days, so we needed to have a nested loop here. Let j, so j starts from 0, and I think the days of the week are 7, less than 7, so I j plus plus increments the days. This should mean this. So if we're in the first week and the days less than, it's less than, sorry, the day is less than day one, we shall have an empty string over here. So first, let me create the actual column. Let's column equal to document. Let's create element. And they said we're working with a table, so we just need to create the table data. This does not go here, that goes before table data. So here I would create another element that's the column text where we shall have the actual dates. So this is equal to the document. Ooh, we're using createElement, and then createElement. So we pass it with the empty string, and then get this and append it to the actual column. So I have the text, I append it to the column. So column dot append. Let's append child, and our child is the column text. So I get the date. Let me say first I append it to the column, which is here our column 6. Is it column 6 or column 5? And then in that column I need to append it to this row, that this date belongs to week 1, week 2, and others. So come in row dot append child, and append the column. So that's it, and this is for the for the first week. So else if it's not the first week, we shall do the same, but this time providing the actual dates. So I'll just go ahead and copy this, paste it here. This time instead of passing an empty string, I would pass in the actual date. Let me say we are looping it the first time and the date is 1, so it would come here, empty string, empty string, empty string, empty string, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and goes on. So that's what we have. So full. I think we need to increment the date. That's date plus plus. So after we are done with all that and we have appended it to the rows, we need to append the row again to, where does that function this start from? We need to append the row again to the calendar. So on the calendar we shall append the child, and this child would be now the row. That's the initial. We can negate plus plus. So here we had let column text equal to document dot create element. We had to create a text node. Create text node that. Then here too it's create text node an empty string. Actually not creating elements. So document create text node. We append that text. The child. Then you have text element. Okay. This is outside the full. This had to be inside the 4, and we are having the days there, but they are outside. So we have from 1 to 31, and it's putting them in the same row. I don't know. Let me check something here. Let's inspect this. So it has managed to create the different weeks that we have. That's the different rows, but it is inserting all the days in one row. So maybe that's to do is here. So saying for the weeks, the weeks should not be greater than 6. Create a table row. That's it. That's working properly. Then for j is equal to 0 no, this is j is greater than 7 plus plus create the table data, and I think now it's able to split them into different weeks. So every week we have a different chunk of days. Okay, that's okay. And I think we have created our calendar component successfully. Maybe to add something, we talked of picking the date. So let me first work on that. That if I'm to pick Friday, this should display 1st of July. So that's where we have the else before actually appending the date to a row. Let me put this down. I'd like to check to listen for an on-click event. That's column dot on click. So when I hear an click event, I would like to change the inner HTML of the picker. So on click, then I want the pick to have an inner HTML of testing would be hey. So if I click this, I get hey. That's not what we want. So I would want it to have the date. And to get the actual date, I would say the column that was picked, and then I get its text nodes. That's the text context at least. So that's if I pick 1, we get the 1, 2, and 4. So for the rest, it will actually be easier. Just get our month. So let's say this month, we already worked on that, and then the year. Oh, we have the year sorted out. So that's it at least. So whatever day I pick would appear. Though the month is actually -1, so we have to increase +1 to get our July. So okay, that's working fine. Maybe another thing is to work on our next and previous month. So for the previous months, we are and the next month we are adding, and the previous months we are subtracting. So maybe to take you back to the HTML where I have this. That means on clicking this, I'd like to move to the next month. Move to the next month, and then clicking this, I'd like to move to the previous month. So previous month would work. Okay, that's okay. So let's have our previous month function right here. So if I have the next month here, so what I'm doing with the next month is actually adding, that's adding +1. So just saying this month is equal to this that month +1. So we're increasing the month +1 and maybe return that month. So this month, and okay, doing nothing. Are we having any progress? So we're having invalid assignment to a constant. Oh, let's turn this into a variable. That's with the late and late, and at least we have the hey here being loaded. So we are increasing the month and recreating our calendar. So let's create the calendar again, and that's it. We get to see the month move. So the month is changing, but the calendar is not changing, and I think I know why. So it's July. When we go to August, the calendar of August is actually created. It's created, but still that of July stays on the screen. So we move to next month, August, September. The calendar is actually created down here, but these others are not removed. So what you need to first do is, if this is not what you want, would want to first clear the calendar, then you create it. That's calendar.html. We clear it. So if I have, in July, when I move to August, the calendar of August is displayed here other than displaying the others. So when I move to December and move to the next year, the month becomes unidentified. That's because our month now becomes 13 and we don't have, it becomes a 12, but remember we are incrementing +1 and we don't have a month that maps to that. So to work on that, we shall check if the month after adding this one is greater than 11. If it is greater than 11, then take it back to 0 and kind of restart. We take the month back to 0 and just increase the year and kind of start another year. So I'm checking if this that month is greater than 11, and if yes, if this month is greater than 11, if yes, just increment the year. And after incrementing the year, take the month back to 0. Increment the year, take the month back to 0. So we get the January, February, and other stuff. So something I'm seeing here, I'm not, why do we have a stroke here on January, and this is not the design I had in mind. Okay, that's it. So we have July, August, September, November, December, and we get to enter into 2023. And I guess this is okay. 2024 until as far as you can go. And this is actually the same for the previous month. So I'll just duplicate that over here and turn this into the previous month. The only thing that we're changing is that the previous month we are actually reducing and checking if the month is less than 0, because we don't have the negative. If it's less than 0, we take you a year back, that's -1, and then set the month this time to December, that's to 11. So if I move forward, if I move backwards on April, March, February, January, instead of going to undefined, I move to the previous year. I guess that's it for the JavaScript, and I hope you got to learn something. And as I was creating this calendar components, the parts that I got to use very much is the create component, the create element, and I think this is used even in React.js for creating those components. And then the create text node, I actually forgot about this. So for the dates, we don't need to create an element. We just need to create a text node that we actually get to use here. And then which other parts stood out in the JavaScript? I think that's it. The create element and how to get the first day, because this also takes time to get the first day and get to know the month in the days in a month. So we get to create our component here and get to see the different days that we have picked. And I think what's left is to work on the styles. So let me move into our style.js file. And the first things first, we need to work on the body. First, work on the presets. Take the margin to 0, padding to 0, 0 box sizing. We go the border box. Maybe put everything in the center, that's display flex. Justify content to center, align items still to center, keep it on different lines. And yes, Why I'm not, I think I'm not seeing the changes. If I put background color red, I'm not seeing the changes. I don't know if we did call our style file in the so it's styles, not style. So that's it. That's more like it. So I don't need the red background, but just checking to see if they are being implemented. I'll take the height to the full viewport and maybe the flex direction to column. Okay, that's it. And I think I had the calendar HTML file I had. So I have the div for which has date picker. Okay, I don't need this. So I just need to style this over here. And I think I just increase its font size to something maybe 1.2. Make it a little bit bigger. That's okay. And what else do I need to style? We have our picture. Just make it bold. With the font weight of bold, so we get to see the date. And maybe when I'm picking the dates, this is looking kind of weird. Let's give it a cursor type of pointer. So if I have the table data, let its cursor be a pointer. At least now I get to pick the days better. So what if we move to a different year and then pick a date? Okay, that works still fine. So which other do I need? Do I need to style the head component? We have our main over here. So what will I want with the main? Give it a background color of white. Let me give it a fixed width for now. 250 pixels and fixed height. That's 200 pixels. I don't want it to keep changing. Give it a border, maybe 2 pixels solid, and then pick out some weird color. Give it a display of flex. In align its contents center. The flex direction is column. Okay, we have that. And maybe the overflow should be hidden. So those last months are not shown. But that would be fine if we work on this header component. Do I have the header here? Okay, give it an ID of calendar header. If I'm to come down here, style the calendar header. Make it also display flex, and that's okay. Just fly content between. Just fly content. Let me go with space. So with space between or with. Will this work? I think let me give my body a background color. Something bluish. So if I have blue, take the opacity a little bit down and nope. That's it. So if the head are the same background color as our border. Okay. Maybe give it the full width of our container still. That's 250 pixels. Okay, the text should be white, so the color is white. Okay, and maybe our buttons look weird, so work on the buttons here. I give them a border of none. and the background color is actually transparent. And then the color itself should be white still as. Then let's give them a margin from the edges. If we have a margin, I think we're okay with that, and 20 pixels on the left and right. Okay, that text shape. And I think, yeah, our calendar component is good to go. So maybe hit that hover effect. When I hover on a month, what would I want to happen on a date? So just give this a hover and change its background color to something gray. Okay. Oh, and these days are not centered, so we change this to something lighter, and then the text should be centered, text align center. So now they are centered, and we get that. So the color is not all that good. Okay, so I think that's it. Maybe change the font to something. So font family, anything sans serif would work. Oh, that's not that good. Let me go with anything. Let me just go with this. So we get to see that, and the over effect is taking effect, and maybe the current the I think 2nd of July should be colored differently to indicate that this is the current day. And to do that, well, let's first go to the JavaScript for beep, and where do we set the columns from? So we have here that the text day should equal to date. So we have to check that if the current date is the actual date today, then maybe add a class to it. Okay, let's add a class to it. So to check if the day is today, that's if the date that we're actually on right now is equal to our date in dot get date, and the month or this month is equal to the date that get month, and then the year is the actual year that we want, which is the same year as today, that get year. Let's get full year. Then if it meets all this, then we would get the column, and then the class list adds the class of today. That's okay. So if we move to our styles, create styles for the class of today and give it a background color. Let's go with the same color as our component. So give it a color of white to be able to see the contrast between the two. Okay, so our current day is out there, and I think that's it. We're able to view any month of the year, pick out a day. Is there anything I would like to add? I would style that in the next video better. At least I get to see all the days of every month. So thank you for watching, and hope you learned something. I would leave the codes to this in the description. If you watched up to this far, thank you, and see you next time. Happy coding.